In the last few weeks, we've been reading the letter of Paul to the Philippians, well, from last week. We are in chapter 2 today, and Paul says something to the Christian community that works both for the Christian community as a whole and for the individual Christians that make up the community. He says to work out your salvation in fear and trembling. That workout could be make sense of salvation. We could interpret it as, a deep spiritual knowledge, studying the scriptures and things like that. But the actual Greek word requires us to work out your salvation, as in do things that bring us to salvation. In the context, Paul is talking about building up a community spirit, putting away wrangling, gossip, and complaints, working out the salvation in that sense, so that the whole Christian community may be one in the Holy Spirit. He's not saying you should put away dissenting voices. He's simply saying you should be one in what you do. And then he quotes a short line from the Old Testament, and he says, work out your salvation in fear and trembling. We should understand this in the spirit of the Old Testament, which means we shouldn't work out our salvation, so do what the Lord commands us to do in fear, as in being scared. In fear and trembling in the Old Testament would mean fear as in reverence of the Lord. Fear as in humility before the Lord. And trembling because we can only rely on Him. So when you read these lines, don't think that Paul is saying to the community, be scared and do what I say. No. He's saying, do what I say, work out your salvation, work for the common good, in humility and utterly relying upon the Lord. Why? Because he then carries on saying, it is God Himself that works within us so that we can achieve things, we can achieve our salvation. So we don't work just out of our own means, but we are inspired by the grace of God. I think it's a good passage to remember, especially because we live in a church that is divided, in a world that is polarized. And Paul recalls the Christian community to do their part by being one in the purpose of God, which is love, peace, kindness, looking after one another. Work for your salvation in fear and trembling. It is God, for His own loving purpose, who puts both the will and the action into you.